You know, it seems everywhere you look these days, there's new home robot companies popping up, new features this, new features that. But if you want to find the absolute best, well, that's where you want to look at a company like Dreame. These days, it's honestly fairly simple to get a good home robot vacuum that can mop, vacuum, and do it in most places. But where things start to get tricky is when you get to those hard places, in corners, under furniture, stuck on messes, obstacle detection. This is where you actually need some good smarts. And so that's why Dreame reached out to sponsor this video and send over this, the Dreame X60 Max Ultra Complete. With Max, Ultra, and Complete in the name, well, you know this thing must be packing a punch. And while there's a few things Dreame has built in here and changed that make this probably the best all-around home robot vacuum and mop system. And they all come together to just give you the overall best cleaning experience. One feature and another, they might not seem like that big of a deal, but when you put them all together, that's where they really seem to shine. Now I got the white version here, and by the way, I actually really like this. I think it really fits into at least my home aesthetic pretty well. It's clean, it's got minimal lines, it's really squared off, and it's actually not that big. Sometimes these robot vacuum stations can get huge. This one's pretty clean. I'm not saying design is all that important here, but it is something that's gotta be sitting in your house, so it does matter. I think this does well. But probably the more important design change here is the actual robot itself, because it is super thin. It comes in at just under 8 centimeters, 7.95 centimeters in thickness. But it doesn't stop there, because this also has the auto lifting and retracting time of flight sensor up top. This is what it uses to like sense the world. We'll just talk a little bit more in a second. But this can actually raise and lower. So with the thinness of the body itself and this, it means you can get into some really hard to reach areas under furniture that many other robots just simply can't do. And if you've ever used these robot vacuum systems, or honestly just a regular vacuum as well, those places that are hard to reach, eventually that's where all the dust bunnies go. They get pretty nasty. So having something that can just reach more areas, well, that does really come in handy. And so it'll drive around cleaning like normal, but if it comes up to some type of furniture or low area, well, it'll detect it, lower down that sensor up top, and go right under it and continue cleaning. It's pretty nifty. Now that is for the actual design, which is certainly helpful, but just as important is all the brains, the smarts behind everything, and the sensors that are built in, and this has a ton. I already talked about that sensor up top. This is a 360-degree time of flight sensor, which can scan the surroundings in real time, and it can go in every direction without needing to actually move the robot, which is really helpful. But up front, you'll see this. This is the proactive light dirt detection technology. And basically what this is it's using the front camera structure, which you're seeing here, which is paired with an infrared light, which is used to better detect dirt on your floors. Sometimes you get reflections, you get these weird angles, your floors have different patterns on them, and so some of these systems can get confused. This whole system is meant to, eliminate that as much as possible. So when it sees something, you know it's dirt and that it's going to clean it. Plus, it can even notify you. It'll tell you with a blue light that it has detected dirt and that is going to clean it. But what this also helps with is identifying what kind of debris is in front of it. So if it's, just dirt, well, it can turn on the vacuum to make sure it, effectively cleans it. But if it's, alternatively like some kind of stain, some kind of liquid, well, you don't want to be vacuuming that up. So instead it can switch over to the mop. It's just able to detect that and clean the most effective way possible. Now I mentioned those cameras up front. This is a pair of 120-degree field of view cameras, which are meant to mimic like human vision. So you get binocular vision. So you're getting like 3D mapping of your environment, and it can detect particles down to 10 millimeters, so super small stuff. And it can detect over 280 different types of objects. So you got like, the standard stuff like shoes, cables, all that stuff, but even other things you may not even think of. It can see them, detect them, and avoid them. Plus with this whole system, you're getting faster mapping and routing. So it's 200% faster than normal. And when it detects an object in just 0.1 seconds, it can like think of what it needs to do and do it without, having to calculate everything. It just means a really seamless use case. But one of my favorite things is the Flexi Adapt obstacle climbing, because, there are those certain places where you have thresholds or different kind of rugs or carpets or anything where the robot might get stuck. And what it needs to do is like lift itself up. Well, this can do that. It can lift up to 8.8 centimeters high. And so if it gets to a threshold where it needs to cross, instead of just, hitting it and giving up, it can actually just pop itself up, climb over, and continue cleaning. One of my favorite things, and it means you can just clean in more places. Now, it could be argued, and it would make a lot of sense, that the most important thing about a robot vacuum and mop system would be the vacuum and mop. And well, that is certainly important here. But without all the smarts and all the navigation features, all the cleaning power in the world wouldn't really matter too much. So when you pair these together, that's when it really shines. And this has an excellent system here. On the vacuum side, this has two really cool features. One is 35,000 pascals of suction. That's the most I've ever personally tested. And what that means is that when it's going around getting dust, it can just pick up more things. Like for instance here, this is like instant coffee I sprinkled over the floor. It picks it up with ease, even though some of these particles are relatively big. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering, all this data of like, the pascals and all that, this comes from Dreame themselves. This is from their in-house testing. Of course, this might vary depending on different situations, but 3,500 pascals is no joke. And in my use case, it really has no issue picking up pretty much anything. Now, this also has a retractable pressure chamber. And basically what this means is that when you're vacuuming carpet, it's even more effective at doing that, because this one area where, there really can be some trapped dirt down deep. And so this really wants to get in there and get everything. This retractable pressure plate, basically when you get on carpets, it'll move itself down so that you get even more suction because it kind of creates this seal. This is in conjunction with the Hyperstream Detangling Duo Brush 2.0. A lot of words, but basically this is their brush system on the bottom that is, helping clean and, suck through carpets and the dirt, which is spinning at 1600 RPM to really, get in there and make sure it's getting as deep of a clean as possible. But it's also, helping with detangling, which is one of the biggest issues with robot vacuums. They eventually always get tangled. Now, Dreame is saying here that 100% you're not going to have tangles. Honestly, that probably isn't the case. At some point, it will probably get tangled, but what they've designed here is going to minimize that as much as possible. So on the vacuum side, honestly, I have really no complaints. My dog comes in from outside all the time, is tracking in all kinds of stuff, and that gets rather messy, but this thing, I run it every once in a while and it just cleans it up. It's almost like nothing ever happened. But kind of in conjunction with that, since my dog is always coming in from outside, it gets pretty dirty back by the back door, and so I also want to mop it as often as possible. And so this has the Dreame Glide cleaning system. This is using 2 mop pads on the bottom that rotate. It's using hot water up to 40 degrees centigrade. In fact, it can keep the water hot in this system for up to 4 minutes, so you get even better cleaning. If you didn't know, some other robot mopping systems, they'll inject hot water into the robot, but then it kind of quickly cools down after that. This stays hot a lot longer. And with these pads, you're getting pretty much all the cleaning you would want. You get 15 newtons of force downwards, so it can really scrub. It has 12 degrees of rotation, so you can really tilt and get into all these different areas. And because they're mop pads, they really clean in every direction with that spinning. Plus, you have the option of adding detergent. They have one for pets if you want to, reduce odors. They also just have a generic one. And you add this solution to the dock so that it can automatically refill. And this dock has everything you expect. For the mopping side, you have your clean and dirty water tank. And for mopping, it can clean the mop heads, dry them off so they don't get mildewy or smelly. Also really cool, if you have this option, you can actually hook up your water line directly to this so you don't ever have to fill up the bucket again. I've yet to actually try that. I need to do that, but that's one feature that is really cool if you have that option. And on the vacuum side, there's also an auto empty dust bin here. You can go up to 100 days with this. And so yeah, this is really a complete system that gets you in every area possible. It's super thin, so it can go into more places than before. It has great navigation, so it can see the world around it better. And it has excellent vacuuming and mopping performance, so when it gets to those places, well, it actually cleans really well. Dreame is one of those brands where when it comes to robot vacuum and mop systems, well, they're one of the ones you want to listen to. And so like I said at the beginning, with Max, Ultra, and Complete in the name, you're really getting that. So if you want to check this out, learn more for yourself, I'll leave links down below in the description. This is where you can find the best price possible. I love checking out these robot vacuums because they keep getting better and better. And well, Dreame, they have a pretty good offering here.